Welcome to the weekly quiz that is all about Star Trek. It's Trek Quiz, and we've spared no expense on our animations. Drink it in. Well, this week we're going to be focusing on a specific series. And what series will that be? 3 rounds of 5 questions each. And all based on the wonderful Star Trek The Next Generation. And what will be the level of difficulty? Will it be Ensign? Will it be Commander? Or will it be the fabled Captain level that even the finest minds in the Daystrom Institute will struggle to answer? It will, of course, be Commander level questions this week, as modelled beautifully by the bearded Will Riker. He was better with a beard, wasn't he? Maybe I'm wrong, but I prefer the beard. Well, without further ado, round 1. And this week, in the wonderful, the luxurious, the plush ready room of Captain Jean-Luc Picard, we're going to focus on ship's personnel. And the first question is, who is the seemingly ageless gardener at Starfleet Academy who befriends both Jean-Luc Picard and Wesley Crusher? And already we have a bonus point available for you. If you're a fan of Voyager, what species create a version of Starfleet HQ in the Delta Quadrant with our gardener as their leader? So question 1, you've got 2 points available to you. Who is this ageless gardener? And who, as a species, decide to create a version of Starfleet HQ in the Delta Quadrant with that gardener as their leader? What's his name? Second question, what's that name of the creature that kills Natasha Yar on Vagra 2? Makes you wonder what's going on Vagra 1 and whether there's a Vagra 3 or 4. Who knows? Question 3. What is the surname of Worf's adoptive human parents? Question 4. What is the name of the Cardassian who has some striking similarities with that to Gul Dukat? But who is that Cardassian Gul that accompanies Picard in The Next Generation and the Enterprise in their pursuit of Benjamin Maxwell in the episode of The Wounded? What's his name? He's a Gul, but he's not Dukat. But he looks like him. I wonder why. And the final question. 6 points up for grabs in round 1. Which 2 crew members alongside a Romulan are pushed out of phase in the episode The Next Phase, imaginative title, and end up attending their own funeral in which Riker plays the sax? He needs no excuse to get that sax out, does he? 2 crew members, but only 1 point available to you. This is Commander level after all. So those are the questions. Let's find out the answers. Will you get 6 from 6? Or will this be a rocky opening? So round 1, ship's personnel. Who is the seemingly ageless gardener at Starfleet Academy that befriends both Jean-Luc Picard and Wesley Crusher? It is, of course, Boothby. And for that bonus point, it's species 8472. The antagonists of the Borg. The multi-limbed creatures that threaten to overrun the galaxy. But thankfully, Janeway was there. They've created a version of Starfleet HQ, apparently, and Boothby is their leader. Well, question 2. What is the name of the creature that kills Natasha Yar on Vagra 2? It is, of course, Armus, the living embodiment of evil, apparently, as long as evil looks like a man wearing a suit that's covered in tar. And obviously he needs some sort of Lemsip or something like that as well, because his breathing is terrible. And Worf's adoptive parents, their last name is Rosenko. Don't you just love those episodes when they arrive on the Enterprise and start poking around in Worf's business? He deals with it in his typically stoic manner. Question 4 was obviously Gul Macet, not Gul Dukat, the member of the Cardassian race who was accompanying Picard in their pursuit of Benjamin Maxwell. Now that episode has one of the great Picard speeches, doesn't it? Take this back to your leaders. We will be watching, says Picard. Don't you love it when he gets cross? The line must be drawn here and no further. Anyway, back to the questions, and the final one. Who is put out of phase alongside a Romulan in the wonderfully titled episode The Next Phase? It is, of course, Ro Laren and Geordi LaForge. 6 points available. How did you do? If you've looked at Google at any point, then no points for you. We don't have any deceit or lies here. We're like the Vulcans, or at least however Tuvok describes the Vulcans. Right, should we go on to round 2? Starships and ship systems. Just a quick note to say, how lovely is the Captain's Ready Room in The Next Generation? Carpeted walls, carpeted floor, lovely mood lighting, a dispenser for Earl Grey tea hot whenever you want it. Anyway, to the questions. What is the name of the experimental ship in which Riker served alongside Admiral Pressman, in which there was a mutiny on a Starfleet vessel, no less? A mutiny. What's the name of that ship? Question 2. What class of ship was the Enterprise C? How well do you know your Enterprises? Obviously coming just before the Enterprise D and just after the Enterprise B. What class of ship was it? And we're sticking in terms of classes of ship. The next question is, what prominent class of vessel did Data command? And also Captain Maxwell, that shares a similar primary hull to that of a Galaxy class ship, but actually is much smaller in size. What class of ship has both Data and Captain Maxwell shared command of? Question 4. What creatures are found in cetacean ops on the Enterprise? I remember finding this out and I had to do a lot of reading around it because I didn't believe it at first. But what creatures are found in cetacean ops on the Enterprise? And the final question of round 2. What maneuver does Picard make Riker perform manually in one of their first interactions in the first Next Generation episode, Encounter at Farpoint? Tough taskmaster is Picard. What does he make Riker perform manually in one of their first interactions? Those are the questions for round 2. How many points did you get in round 1? As long as you didn't cheat. Let's find out the answers to round 2. Let's see how you've done. 5 more points available for you. Round 2. What was the name of that experimental ship that Riker served on? It was, of course, the Pegasus. Rather sneakily, Starfleet were having a look at cloaking technology, and this was able to pass through matter, but ended up with the ship mutinying, and it almost signalled the end of the relationship between Picard and Riker. But thankfully, for lovers of the Next Generation, like I am, their relationship survived, and they never mentioned it ever again in any episode. And of course, the Enterprise C, it is an Ambassador class. And it's a lovely vessel as well, the Ambassador class, I've got to say. All of the Enterprises look lovely, but it's one of my favourites. And then on that, what prominent class of vessel did Data command and also Captain Maxwell? It is, of course, the Nebula class vessel. Another lovely looking ship, but I think I prefer to be in a Galaxy class vessel in deep space. Now, taking us on a different track, it is, of course, in cetacean ops, dolphins on the Enterprise. Yeah, dolphins on the Enterprise. On to question 5. What maneuver does Picard make Riker perform manually in one of their first interactions? I remember watching this for the first time and I couldn't breathe. It was so exciting. It is, of course, the saucer separation. How exciting was that when it happened? I think they realised early on that it took quite a long time to film and show, so it only happened a few times after that, of course, which is a shame, of course. 11 points down so far. How have you done? Surely there's nobody with 11 points so far, but if you have, congratulations. On we go to round 3, the strange, bizarre and downright weird. I love this round. Get your thinking caps on. The last round before our Daystrom Institute question of the week and the end of this quiz about the Next Generation. Worf, question 1. when asked by Data to look after his cat, must talk to him and tell him that he is two things. What are the two things that Worf must tell Data's cat Spot that he is? What two things does Data tell Worf that he's got to tell his cat that he is? Fantastic scene, one of the great scenes, I think, in Star Trek The Next Generation. The second of our questions about the strange, bizarre and downright weird, what does Riker devolve into in the episode Genesis? Question 3. Worf is impressed by the fish-like Antedian race. What compliment does he pay them? It's quite Worf-centric this week, isn't he? But why not? He's absolutely fantastic. He likes that fish-like race. What compliment does he pay them? How does he describe them? Well, question 4, it's another Worf one. And he's transformed in the holodeck into one of Robin Hood's gang. Another holodeck episode. Well, we love them, don't we? Just as much as we enjoy courtroom episodes. He declares effusively that he is not something. What is Worf? Not. It's one of those famous Worf lines. And then finally, how many lights were actually there? How many lights were actually there? I'm not going to give you any context. You should know. It's a commander level quiz. How many lights were there? So, round 3, a sort of Worf-centric round 3, the strange, the bizarre and the downright weird. Let's have a look at the answers. So Worf, when asked to look after his cat by Data, has to talk to the cat, and he has to tell Spot that he is two things. He has to tell Spot that he is a pretty cat. He is a good cat. I'd have paid cash money to hear Worf say those words. Onwards, Riker devolves into a caveman. Some absolutely fantastic prosthetic makeup made. You can't tell it's Riker underneath it at all. It looks like something from the original series. It's fantastic. It's a lovely throwback. On to the next question. Worf is impressed by the fish-like Antedian race. What compliment does he pay them? He calls them a handsome race. That was a Worf impression, in case you were wondering. It was poor. I'd give it a 3 out of 10. But he calls them a handsome race. I don't know why I did it again. You know the answer. There it is. I'm not going to do any more Worf impressions. Worf is transformed on the holodeck into one of Robin Hood's gang. He is not something, though. And he declares very strongly, I am not a merry man. I've done it again. I've done it. It's another Worf impression. He says he's not a merry man. And finally, how many lights were there? Of course, we're with Picard. There were 4 lights. And finally, I hope you've enjoyed this quiz. If you have enjoyed it, please subscribe. In the comments on YouTube, you can find me on Twitter. You can also find me on Instagram as well. Let me know how you've done in terms of your points, and crucially at this point, let me know your answers to the Daystrom Institute question of the week, the moment you've all been waiting for. This is a question that's hopefully going to push your mind a little bit. There's no right answer to this, but I'm fascinated to find out what you think. So the Daystrom Institute question of the week is this. How do the Federation look to their enemies? How do the Romulans, the Dominion, heck, even the Borg see the Federation? We see them as running this utopia-like society where there's no want, where there's no people living in poverty or anything like that, unless you obviously watch Deep Space Nine. But we're in the Next Generation so far. But if you're a bog standard Romulan, if you're part of the Dominion, if you're a lowly Borg drone, how do you see the Federation? Give me your best answers in your comments. Thank you for sticking around. I hope you did well, and I'll see you next week for our next Trek quiz.